Hi, I'm Jeff Ray, your host for Economic Outlook. Thanks for joining us each week as we discuss the region's most important economic development initiatives with a panel of experts. Recently, the Mishawaka Fieldhouse opened its doors on the city's northeast side. The $38 million project will help drive tourism in our region as we compete for youth and adult sporting events such as basketball, volleyball, pickleball, and field sports. Today, we're diving deeper into the Fieldhouse project and we'll take you out to the Fieldhouse for an inside look at the project. In 2016, community leaders completed a feasibility study looking at the potential impacts of youth sports complex in our region and how such a project might drive tourism and economic activity in the region. Now, 8 years later, the community is celebrating the opening of the state-of-the-art Mishawaka Fieldhouse project. Joining me today for a closer look at the Fieldhouse and its expected impact on our community are Tony Stearns, the general manager of the Mishawaka Fieldhouse, and Jeff Jarnecki, the executive director of Visit South Bend Mishawaka. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Good, thanks for coming. Actually, we've talked about the topic a couple times in the past, but we're now celebrating the opening of it. So guys, thanks for coming back. We're excited to take our viewers out to give them an inside look at the project. But Jeff, just for level set, let's go backwards a little bit. First, what's Visit South Bend Mishawaka and why it cares about this space?
Yeah, so Visit South Bend Mishawaka is the lead destination marketing and management group that's responsible for attracting out-of-town visitors and tourists and business and meetings and conventions and events and youth sports to St. Joseph County. So we work as part of the South Bend Regional Chamber to attract individuals to come and experience our communities. So whether that's bringing their meeting here or bringing a youth sports tournament that we've had incredible success with, our group works day in and day out to attract those groups, to tell the story, to work with our partners, to champion all things tourism within St. Joseph County.
Great, let's stay with you for just a quick second and talk youth sports. So again, 8 years ago or so, this feasibility is happening because parents are traveling around. Give us the state of youth sports and why this became such an important priority.
Yeah, we're far from an early adopter in terms of building an indoor sports facility, yet that was the missing piece that we didn't have within St. Joseph County. And youth sports, being the multi-billion-dollar industry that it is across the country, has also largely proven itself to be recession-proof and then ultimately pandemic-proof as well. That youth sports, especially on the outdoor side of it, were things and activities that were still taking place throughout the entire pandemic. And so a lot of communities really were able to sustain themselves or at least buoy themselves during that time because of youth sports. So kids were still traveling, their parents were still traveling, these tournaments were still taking place, and as part with that social distancing that was required at that point in time. And so St. Joseph County was the beneficiary of that youth sports wins within St. Joseph County. And this past year alone, our organization helped to bring in more than 93 different events, majority of those being outdoor sort of events, plus then youth ice hockey as part of that. And that resulted in about $28 million worth of economic impact. And so this idea of this indoor facility that started some 8 years ago and being studied, that now is open and is available, and really that missing piece that we didn't have within our community is going to really transform and enhance and provide some really meaningful returns, even in its first year of operation.
Great, and Tony, let me come your way because as this is happening and the community is looking for partners, they find a partner in Card and Associates. We've had Andy Card on with us before, kind of sharing the vision, but tell us again, for folks who might have missed that show, a little bit about Card and Associates and what it's doing in this youth sports space outside of the area before we dive into the Fieldhouse.
Sure, so Card and Associates is based in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have field houses located there. 3 field houses, one being the PAC, which is the Pacers Athletic Center, has 8 indoor basketball courts. We have Mojo Up, which is in Finch Creek, and then Lebanon, which is the Farmers Bank field house, very similar to the one that we just opened in Mishawaka.
And so dive a little deeper into, so Card sees, like Jeff talks about this opportunity and sort of dives into the space, but also to make this happen needs kind of this public-private partnership to get it going.
Yeah, of course, working with the local community to develop this idea, find the space, the geographical location obviously makes sense too. And in Mishawaka's case, the location centrally to all the larger cities. Indianapolis is great, but for us, Mishawaka proves a great space for Chicago, Michigan, Ohio, and Indianapolis to come up and to bring a centralized place for all those travel agencies to meet together.
Yeah, Jeff, let's dive a little deeper. So you talk about kind of this missing piece. You have this experience with the outdoor stuff. You have an idea of kind of where people come from to participate in these sports, and so now we're going to offer some new sports we haven't. Give us just a feel for kind of the geography that we serve with a complex like this.
Yeah, it's just incredible because so often the teams that we have, and we have these sports teams that are already playing, they're just playing at local high schools. And so now the idea that they can be concentrated under one roof is going to be additive for them. It's going to expand their business and even grow those opportunities. And too oftentimes, we saw those same families that have their kids playing now as part of the Mishawaka Fieldhouse go out of town on those weekends. They were going to Indianapolis, they were going to Cincinnati, they were going to Louisville, they're still going to Florida, Texas, these other places to compete in these youth tournaments. And the idea that not only can then they stay home and enjoy one more weekend at home, albeit at the Mishawaka Fieldhouse, they're saving on dollars. And so that part was the missing piece for us. And so while we have no shortage, and we're grateful for that, of our baseball fields, our softball fields, our soccer fields, lacrosse fields within St. Joseph County, that gap that I've mentioned now really falls in our most need time, our greatest need time in the months of December, January, February, March, where hotel occupancy is at its lowest points within St. Joseph County, where the visitors not coming to town, where maybe even town is hibernating a little bit as well. And so that sense of life and energy that's going to result because of this 220,000 square foot building that now can host volleyball that we couldn't before, now can host basketball that we couldn't before in a concerted sort of way, including now pickleball on top of that, is really a transformational project that's going to provide those dividends in real short order for us.
Tony, we're going to take our guests out in a few minutes to see the inside, but help describe this facility. If somebody was asking you about the Mishawaka Fieldhouse and what it is and they never heard about it, tell us what they'll find when they walk through those front doors.
I would say the easiest way to describe it is a 220,000 square foot multi-sport facility. When you walk in, you're greeted by the front desk, and then the question is, do you want to go to the left for basketball or volleyball? Do you want to go to the right for pickleball and anything turf related? So on the left-hand side of our building, or the western end, we have 10 basketball courts that convert into 19 volleyball courts. So we're really excited about the opportunity of what 19 volleyball courts can bring to this area. As well, on the eastern side of the building, we have 12 pickleball courts. These pickleball courts are not just the acrylic surface painted on top of concrete. They're actually on top of a CushionX system, which is revolutionary to the area and helps with recovery for anybody that's playing the game, as well as our 70-yard long turf space, which is divisible into two sections, can provide a variety of opportunity for sports as baseball, lacrosse, football, soccer, anything that can be played outdoors can be brought indoors for either practice or some small-sided games.
Great. Tony, I didn't have the chance to travel the world and look at youth sports complexes, so I don't have a great frame of reference. I know when I walked through your facility, I was a little bit blown away. You know, give us a feel for how special this facility is compared to some of the others that you've seen around the country.
Just size and scope alone. I mean, the ability to bring in volleyball, for instance, to have that many courts under one roof, just provides an opportunity to bring in a larger audience, to create competition levels from a standpoint that's really not capable in a lot of areas. That's from the regional standpoint, but locally too, this provides an opportunity for all of our teams, clubs, athletes to provide them a space that in most cases we would have had 2 gyms, and it provides limited opportunity. Now when 19 courts or 10 basketball courts really provides a variety of opportunities on a daily basis. So we can have volleyball going at the same time as basketball practice, as well as those families that are watching their athletes play, they can play pickleball, or they can do a variety of things inside this building that commonly is not available in a lot of these facilities.
Great. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go out into the field. George Lepiniotis, my co-host, is out for an inside look at the Mishawaka Fieldhouse. George, let me toss it to you.
Welcome back. I'm on the northeast side of Mishawaka, and I'm joined today by Nick Kleva. Nick, you're the VP of Marketing and Sales here at the Mishawaka Fieldhouse. Thanks for joining us first.
Thanks for having me.
And then Secondly, thanks for letting us in this facility. We've been talking about it for a couple of years. Last year, Mayor Wood and I did a segment out in the parking lot. So this was still, there's a lot of welding and climbing going on, but it's an amazing place. I mean, I don't know if our viewers can get a scope of the scale of it just on camera, but it's massive.
Yeah, it's 220,000 square foot facility. We have 10 basketball courts that can convert to 19 volleyball courts, 12 pickleball courts, which are right behind us, and we have a 70-yard turf field as well. So a lot of amenities to offer.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive. And for those of our viewers who may not be familiar with this neighborhood, it's just off Capitol Avenue, real close to the toll road entrance, the Granger-Mishawaka toll road exit. And it really is a unique development for this city. Can you talk a little bit about the history of the development and how your group came to be involved in this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of predates my previous role with the county, Visit South Bend, Mishawaka, but I've been involved in this project for about 7 or 8 years, from where are we going to put it, what's it going to include, who's going to develop, operate it. But eventually it was Cardin Associates based out of Indianapolis. They have 4 other facilities very similar to this in the Indy area. This is their first one outside of the Indianapolis market. But yeah, this accessibility was a big thing, getting people here for those tournaments. Where are they coming from? They're coming off of the toll road. They're coming up from Indy off 31. So Capitol Avenue kind of serves that purpose. So it was very strategic on where they're going to put this facility, and I think we got a perfect location here in Mishawaka.
Well, and not only that, but the city really does have a desire to grow into this area, and then even further east and further north, the county's doing a lot in this area as well. So it really is going to be an anchor for the neighborhood.
Yeah, they're hoping to do a campus kind of around, a sports campus around this field house, whether it has hotels, restaurants, more attractions for those visitors to come. So I would say in the next 3, 5, maybe 10 years eventually, you might see some other developments around this because there's a bunch of land ready for development.
Yeah, and for those of us who are parents and have young kids still at home, like I do, and these types of facilities play a big role. And so I think with that, I know the pickleball is interesting, but maybe let's move over to the turf field and see what that feels like and what it's like, you know, just the scope of the thing and how families are going to be spending a lot of time here with their kids. All right, let's do it. So Nick, you know, as I mentioned, it's an impressive facility. So tell me a little bit about this field. We were talking about it before we went back on camera. It's turf, but it's maybe more carpet.
Yeah, it's a unique turf carpet kind of field surface. So it's what they use over in England with a lot of those soccer clubs. So it's padded, then it's a carpet surface, then you have sand, and then it's an infill with some plastic to get the fibers of the carpet to stand up to play like a true grass surface.
And it really does feel like, as I'm standing on it, it's got almost that sponginess of grass, of a thick grass. So it's exciting. It's exciting to play on. So, okay, so it's a soccer field, right? But I see canes, that's actually field hockey?
That's baseball, softball.
Okay, all right, and so that would be a backstop.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, so it can be indoor softball, baseball?
It's a multi-purpose field for soccer, flag football, even some ultimate frisbee potentially. But then we have an agreement with Canes baseball, softball teams that they use half of this turf field for some of their trainings throughout the season.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so not necessarily a tournament indoors, but at least training throughout the off season.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, and as we look to the future, what do you think is coming down the pipe? I know we've got, you know, you've got some tournaments in pickleball, you've got some soccer tournaments coming up, you have some volleyball tournaments coming up. What do you see the future holding for this facility?
Well, our goal is to fill this facility 52 weeks out of the year, but then this is also just a phase 1 of what could be here on this campus. We could even have a phase 2, phase 3 that could include a hotel, maybe some housing, maybe some additional baseball, softball fields outdoors, soccer fields, football fields, potentially some ice hockey rinks. So the conversations are still ongoing. So again, this is just the start of what could be here on this sports campus like we talked about.
And before we're talking about schedule, before we went on air, you said that you are booked through the middle of 2025 already.
Yes.
If you had Have you guys put numbers to that? I mean, we're talking about thousands and thousands of visitors to the Mishawaka area.
We are, yeah. So it's primarily volleyball tournaments because we have a NIVA, Northern Indiana Volleyball Association, using this home as well. So they have about 1,800 kids, and all those teams will be practicing here. But then they're going to be using tournament time as well. So we have a large tournament, 300-team tournament, Mother's Day weekend.
Yep.
So I mean, the numbers are incredible.
Well, good luck in the future. Thanks to you again for joining in and hearing about our stories. The Mishawaka Fieldhouse is an impressive facility and just another example of how our municipalities are working hard to attract private development and make sure they continue to grow in unique and very fun ways.
Great. All right, we're back in the studio. We're continuing our discussion about Mishawaka Fieldhouse. Tony, thanks for the sneak peek inside. We're glad we could take our viewers in there and get a chance to look at it. So, Jeff, I'm going to follow up. We were talking right before we went out, just the uniqueness of this. You've had a chance just to, during your travels, to be in different places. Give us a feel for this versus maybe some of the others that you've been in.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I mean, there are so many factors that go into it, and I think that was part of Andy Card's vision, that it really started when he was a traveling sport parent himself and going in and out of these facilities that were either dilapidated or didn't have natural light or didn't have good concessions, and you're there, and you're trapped, and you're trying to figure out what to do and how to entertain not only the kid that's playing, but the other kids of yours that are with you in tow on that day. And so the design, especially as a former volleyball coach, that on the club side of it, the creature comforts, those things that you expect, not only in terms of the competition side, but then the rest of it when you're not playing. To be able to spread out, to certainly have ample Wi-Fi, to have an incredible kitchen that's built out within the field house that makes it so that you don't have to even leave the facility. And beyond that, I think another 5 years from now, in the Juday Creek Business Park, it's going to look a lot different. There's going to be infrastructure in the sense of hotels and restaurants and amenities and attractions and things to do while you're not perhaps playing or experiencing that. But until then, certainly the Mishawaka Fieldhouse has all you might want and even more than what you might expect.
Tony, I want to come back to you because I want to expand on a point you were talking about before, because like we love the tourism impact, the people are going to come stay in our hotels and eat in our restaurants and some of that stuff. But you touched on the local community really benefiting from this too. You've got a facility that you need to fill 7 days a week. You can't do tournaments probably 7 days a week. Build on just sort of the local community benefiting from what you're doing there.
Sure, yeah. From the standpoint of the facility, obviously the club sports will be frequenting them from the 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. when the kids are at school, which is great. We have NIVA for volleyball and 5-Star for basketball, Canes for baseball. We also have pickleball that runs from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., which provides a variety of times for people to reserve and jump right on the court reserve and reserve their time for them. Outside of that too, we have space in our non-peak hours that are great, that we're looking for all types of partners, whether it be local colleges or adult leagues, any type of opportunity we're definitely interested in entertaining.
Great. And Tony, I want to stick with you a little bit because as you're now working to fill the schedule, you're filling it with sort of those locals, but also the tournament kind of stuff. Just talk about maybe the reaction from folks who are looking to bring a tournament here, some things that we might see at the Fieldhouse even in the year to come.
Yeah, so we're fielding calls all the time. We get calls daily. Nick Cleva, who's responsible for booking those larger events, has put a bunch of them on the calendar. We have large volleyball tournaments coming in starting in January all the way through May. February we'll actually see a cheer event that will be hosted there nationally, so that's pretty exciting. We'll have pickleball tournaments, so we'll bring in some of the nation's best players from the surrounding area. We have a variety of opportunities. We're looking at boxing matches, basketball tournaments that are coming in that weren't able to be hosted before, so the 10 courts give us a lot of opportunity to do so.
Great. Jeff, and I'll come your way because as we kicked off the official opening, there was a little pickleball happening there. You and Tony had teamed up with that. Talk to us a little bit about just sort of the thing that opened the doors there.
Yeah, well, it's not a new sport. It is newer to St. Joseph County in terms of having that sort of quality facility in conjunction then with another venue that's just down the road, about a mile and a half, called H2 Pickleball. And so the idea to then have a critical mass of courts, let alone have something that's going to be that local amenity, but they can also bring in sports tourism that wasn't specific to age or ability level, but we wanted to differentiate ourselves as a tournament and a first ever tournament. So we were pleased to be able to sponsor the event to the tune of about $15,000, and that went to the ultimate prize purse that was about $19,200 that went to each of those different age groups or divided against those age groups. And that brought in 403 players from across, I think, 13 or 14 different states that stayed and competed for 3 different days on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so as an inaugural event, to really establish ourselves as having that potential to be a destination for pickleball, in addition to any other sports and events within that facility, as well as open the doors on something that'd be not only a good test run, but a good first experience. It hit on so many different elements. It hit on the experience for those that were participating. It hit on the opportunity for those that came out to watch, and it certainly hit on the economic driver that we think the Mishawaka Fieldhouse will ultimately be.
Jeff, I want to stay with you to talk about this economic driver piece because a lot of different things, other attractions, restaurants, hotels, talk about just that driver impact on how the traffic that's here for pickleball, volleyball, whatever, then goes out in the community and spends those dollars.
Yeah, so not only did it take just a ton, as Tony had mentioned, to get to that point in terms of the community, including the Regional Development Authority that contributed more than $5 million to the project, certainly the vision from Mayor Wood and Ken Prince and the City of Mishawaka side, the belief and frankly the patience from an Andy Card to work with us over those 6 to 7, 8 years to bring this to fruition. But now the impact is going to be real, and certainly the Hotel Motel Tax Board believes in this as well, with about a $1.1 million going to that facility towards the operation and paying off the bonds that were associated with the construction. But we also think that return is real. We think there are going to be more than 1 million people through those doors each and every year. We believe there are going to be more than 20,000 hotel room nights that are associated with that. And as part of our work, we were able to bring in and account for about 43,000 hotel room nights through youth sports today. And so the idea that we can bring in 50% of that number in a segment that we weren't able to capitalize on before to get something north of 60, 70, maybe 80,000 room nights and go from $27 million of economic impact to maybe something closer to 40 or $50 million of economic impact just through youth sports. And those folks then that are coming in are staying multiple days in hotels, are eating at the restaurants, or going to our stores, and maybe even most importantly, walking away from St. Joseph County with a really good experience and a really good memory so that they come back and visit us a second time when maybe they don't have to through sport.
Great, Tony. Let's come your way as we get into our last, few minutes. So talk about, what maybe 2 things. One, a little bit about what's ahead, and then 2, how our viewers plug in, right? If somebody's sitting at home saying, I don't play pickleball, not in a basketball league, help them understand how they plug in up there.
Sure. Yeah, the best way to do it, I'd tell everybody, is first stop on our website. We got some great footage of the facility that you can even have a drone fly through, and you can actually see the building without stepping on property. And if that excites you and then you're still interested in more, stop on by. We'll be happy to show you around, provide you with as much information as we can, and hopefully get you connected, whether it's a kid or a grandkid or a membership to pickleball.
Yeah. And I think that's a great example of as like pickleball grows. As you mentioned, it's 7 to 10 every day. There's chances probably for leagues and other kind of things there to plug people in.
Yeah, definitely. If you come out too, I would say come between about 6 to 8 o'clock, and that place will be rocking and rolling. And it's great to see the families, the kids, the smiles. It's really exciting.
Great, Jeff. In our last 2 minutes, really. So you've got a new tool in your tool belt as you're out, selling this. Give us, kind of the final word a little bit on what this means to your efforts to try to help sell tourism in our area.
Yeah, certainly with the University of Notre Dame is our #1 attraction, with more than 60% of the visitors, which totals about 5.7 million people each and every year coming to St. Joseph County. 60% are attributed to the University of Notre Dame, but now having the sports component associated with that is just tremendous. That's really a differentiating factor for us. And so while the youth sports movement isn't new, It's certainly growing. These buildings and these facilities, from courts to fields to indoor components, are starting to appear in each and every neighborhood and community around the country. And so when you put together the total package of what we have to offer in St. Joseph County, from 53 different hotels to the incredible Mishawaka Fieldhouse and the Compton Family Ice Arena and our #1 attraction in the University of Notre Dame, that's a global brand, it's a compelling package that we have in St. Joseph County, and we think it's only going to grow from here.
Guys, thank you both for your good work on this. Tony, wish you much success as this launches. Like I say, you got an amazing facility. You've put a good leadership team together. We're excited about what this means. Jeff, thanks for the work you're doing on the tourism space. That's it for our show today. Thank you for watching on WNIT or listening to our podcast. Find Economic Outlook at WNIT.org or find our podcast on most major podcast platforms. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. I'm Jeff Ray. I'll see you next time.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.